What about the Gnostic Gospels?
A number of other Gospels that are not in the Bible exist, and in recent times there has been a revival of interest in these. Some people suggest, maybe after reading the Da Vinci Code, that maybe they represent the original form of Christianity that the Church suppressed. So it's important to appreciate that these Gospels were written considerably later than the biblical Gospels. For example, take the Gospel of Thomas, which contains some of the teachings of Gnosticism, which is a movement that didn't gain much traction until the 2nd century. It quotes from the other Gospels, apparently from a version of them called the Diatessaron, which was compiled between 150 and 175. And even most skeptical New Testament critics agree that this Gospel was probably written in the mid to late 2nd century. Or we could look at the Gospel of Judas, which is similar because it presents the reader with the Gnostic theology that arose in the 2nd century. Now, the earliest copy of this Gospel that we know of was carbon dated to the 3rd or the 4th century, but some of the language may suggest a 2nd century date of writing. The book claims to retell a secretive conversation between Jesus and Judas Iscariot, which no earlier source that we know of was aware of. Now, it's not that these later books don't have any value. They certainly do, because they can teach us about theological developments in church history. Most of what we know about the Gnostic movement came from books like these, so in fact they are very helpful. But they are fictional histories that bear all the hallmarks of revisionism to make Jesus into something that he really wasn't. Compared to the Gospels that we have in the New Testament, books like these are not good sources for information about the life of Jesus of Nazareth. They're just too late, and they're too different from what we know from much earlier sources. The 4 Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, as well as the New Testament letters, give us a coherent portrait of Jesus. They were written at least a century earlier than these other Gospels, and if you want to know what Jesus was really like, you need to go to the earlier sources we have, written by those who knew Jesus or who knew his contemporaries, and those sources are in the Bible.